The company once reached a staggering valuation of $9 billion on the promise of a revolutionary blood test using just one tiny drop. Elizabeth Holmes built Theranos on one promise that captured the imagination of investors everywhere. One tiny drop of blood could run 240 tests. The machine was called the Edison. It was supposed to change medicine, but it never worked. So how did this story reach $9 billion? We begin at the end. January 2022. A federal jury convicts Elizabeth Holmes on 4 counts of defrauding investors, only as she was acquitted on patient charges. She would receive 11 years. But to understand how it happened, we must go back to a 19-year-old with an idea. Chapter 2. Elizabeth Holmes pitched a revolutionary device that would transform medical testing as we knew it. No more needles, no more vials, just one drop from a finger prick. She wore black turtlenecks like her idol Steve Jobs, spoke in a deep voice. Investors loved the story she told them. They gave her the money, with more than $700 million raised overall. By 2013, Theranos had a huge partner. Walgreens put the machines in their stores. Real patients would soon use them. The valuation soared to $9 billion. On paper, Holmes was worth $4.5 billion. The press called her the next Steve Jobs. But behind the black turtlenecks and the hype, the machine had a problem. It could not do what she claimed. Chapter 3. The board looked impeccable. Henry Kissinger, George Shultz, James Mattis. All American statesmen who brought enormous prestige, but lacked medical diagnostics expertise. They lent Theranos instant credibility with their famous names and backgrounds. But none of them could evaluate the science. Prestige substituted for scrutiny. That scrutiny was badly needed. How could this happen? Sunny Balwani ran the lab. He and Holmes were secretly together. Employees who raised concerns were silenced with threats. Legal pressure came from the company. The culture was one of fear and intimidation throughout the lab operations, as the dossier confirms. Tyler Schultz and Erica Chung saw the problems up close in the laboratory every day. They tried to speak up and raise alarms about the faulty tests. The company pushed back hard with threats. Would their voices be heard in time?
I couldn't ignore what I was seeing in the lab every single day. The patients deserved better than these unreliable results.
What exactly was happening inside the lab? How did they deliver on 240 tests from one drop? Chapter 4. The mechanism. One drop cannot be split 240 ways and still give accurate results. Physics does not allow it, no matter how much the marketing claimed otherwise. So the Edison ran only a few tests. The rest were different. They secretly used modified commercial machines from companies like Siemens. They were hidden in the lab. The device was mostly a prop, as the investigation later proved. Finger prick samples were tiny, so they diluted them heavily with solution. This pushed results outside the validated range. It created unreliable outcomes for real patients who received bad data as a result of the process. Watch the gap between hype and reality. The story sold $9 billion. The machine could reliably run almost nothing. Insiders and investigations uncovered the truth. This gap revealed the scale of the fraud. But what would it take for the truth to finally come out? The gap was the fraud. Real patients received unreliable results through Walgreens. Tens of thousands later had to be voided or corrected after the CMS inspection. CMS inspected the lab in Newark, California. They found it posed immediate jeopardy to patient health and safety. The official regulator report said so in 2016. The lab was a danger to real people. Walgreens ended the partnership after learning the truth. The house of cards began to fall. Regulators and the public saw the reality. What was happening inside Theranos was now exposed for everyone to see clearly. John Carreyrou worked at the Wall Street Journal. He started asking questions. Insiders had tipped him off. They could no longer stay silent. The problems were too serious to ignore. His series would change everything. The company fought him with legal pressure and threats. They threatened whistleblowers, including Tyler and Erica. But the evidence mounted. More details emerged from the lab. The walls were closing in. Forbes once hailed her as the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. They revised her net worth all the way down to zero. This happened after the investigation gained traction. But how far would the consequences reach from there? The SEC charged massive fraud. The company dissolved in 2018 after the revelations came out fully. Then came the long criminal trials that would hold people accountable for what happened. Balwani was convicted on all 12 counts. This included patient fraud. Holmes was convicted on the investor fraud counts. She was acquitted on patient ones. Both went to prison. Holmes received 135 months. Balwani received 155 months. The $9 billion in valuation disappeared almost overnight once the truth emerged fully. The tests were supposed to help patients. Instead, they put some of them at risk. Inaccurate results came from diluted samples and the Edison device failures. A board full of legends could not spot what lab techs saw immediately in the lab. The story was stronger than the science ever was. Prestige had replaced expertise. You dropped out at 19. You've raised over $700 million on your idea. Your machine does not work as promised. What do you do next to protect the dream you sold everyone and the investors who believed? Holmes chose to keep selling the dream to investors and partners. The dream finally collapsed under the weight of reality. The evidence could no longer be ignored by anyone, as the trials proved the investor fraud. The next Steve Jobs went to prison. The machine was a prop. One drop of blood revealed everything. It revealed the dangerous gap between a compelling story and actual science that no one had checked. Your machine fails its tests. Come clean or double down? Tell me in the comments. Next, how the Lego toy empire that almost died found one idea to save everything.